Am I the asshole for telling my brother-in-law that helping around the house might lead to more intimacy? Last weekend, my husband, who's 42, went golfing with my brother-in-law, Colin, who's 41. Later, I asked my husband how it went, and he told me, "Good, but Colin won't shut up about how him and Marie have no intimacy. It's annoying." At the time, I was with my sister, Marie, who's 40, and all of our kids, so I asked her what was going on. She just rolled her eyes and explained that Colin doesn't help around the house. By the time she gets home, makes dinner, gets the kids ready for bed and school the next day, she's completely exhausted. All she wants is to read a little before going to sleep. Meanwhile, Colin comes home from work and spends his time working out, watching sports, or finding excuses not to help. Later that night, we were all having dinner together. After the meal, my husband got up and started clearing the table. When Marie and I got up to help, he waved us off and said that he and Colin would do it since they had golfed all day and he knew how tired we were after wrangling kids. This was also after my husband had ordered the dinner, picked it up, and brought wine and dessert from my favorite place. Predictably, Colin immediately tried to duck out and said he had something to do outside. That's when I said, "Colin, maybe if you helped clear the table, then Marie might be in the mood later." Colin completely lost it. He started ranting about how he's busy, how he doesn't have time to help, and how he doesn't want a transactional relationship where he has to pay for sex with chores. It escalated quickly because I didn't back down. At one point, Colin even pointed at my husband and said, "What, you'll blow him tonight just because he did the dishes?" I explained that it wasn't about the dishes. It was the fact that my husband stepped in to help when he knew I was tired, and that he had taken care of dinner and wine and dessert too. Colin stormed out and drove away. He didn't come back until after we left. Since then, Marie says he hasn't said a single word to her. Now I'm conflicted. On one hand, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. It wasn't really my place, and now my sister's marriage feels even more strained. But on the other hand, maybe Colin needed to hear it from someone else to realize how badly he's behaving. So am I the asshole for telling my brother-in-law that helping around the house might actually lead to more intimacy? Am I the asshole for not wanting to help my mom and her fiancé with his disabled child? I'm a 20-year-old guy, and this is about my mom, who's 42, her fiancé, who's 45, and his kids, who are 6 and 4. The 4-year-old has a lot of serious disabilities. She has a seizure disorder, a condition called osteogenesis imperfecta, and something else that causes paralysis or spasms of the stomach and esophagus. Basically, she needs constant and very specialized care. Before her fiancé moved in, my mom even took classes for 2 months to learn how to take care of the little girl. Her fiancé's ex is completely out of the picture, so my mom knew she'd have to step up. I used to have my own room at my mom's house, but when her fiancé and his kids moved in about 10 months ago, my old room went to the 4-year-old. Since then, whenever I visit, I've stayed with my grandparents because there's no space for me anymore. The first time I came back was at Christmas. My mom was a little disappointed that I stayed at my grandparents' place, but I told her it made sense. I wouldn't be in the way of their routine. The second time was in late June and early July. I stayed with my grandparents again. My mom offered to buy me a pull-out bed, but I said no, I was fine. Here's where the issue really started. While I was visiting, my mom asked me if I'd looked into taking the same classes she had, or if I wanted them to sign me up for them. I asked her why I'd need to do that, and she said she hoped I'd want to help care for her fiancé's daughter. She explained that it would mean I could step in if an emergency ever came up. I told her flat out that I wasn't comfortable with that, and that if they needed backup, they should find a professional. Her fiancé wasn't happy with my answer. He asked if that meant I wasn't ever planning to stay at their house. I told him yes, I wouldn't have any privacy, and honestly, I wouldn't benefit from being there. I also pointed out that they'd be so busy anyway that I wouldn't even get much time with my mom. That's when her fiancé got blunt. He told me it sounded like I didn't want to learn how to care for his daughter, and that I was basically saying I didn't want to be involved with him or his kids at all. I told him I'd see his kids when I came to see my mom, but I wasn't signing up for babysitting or future caregiver duties. Later, my mom and I went for a walk, and she tried to talk to me about it. She admitted it was a lot to ask, but said it would mean the world to her if I'd be willing to help sometimes, even just for a few hours when I visited. She said it would give them a little bit of relief. I told her I loved her and wanted to spend time with her, but babysitting wasn't part of my plans, especially not for a child with such complex medical needs. She was upset, but she dropped it. Her fiancé, though, has not dropped it. He's still holding a grudge, and he even brought it up to my grandparents. From what they told me, he seemed annoyed that they let me stay with them because it gave me an excuse not to be closer to his kids and not to learn how to care for his daughter. So now I'm left wondering, am I the asshole for refusing to learn how to care for my mom's fiancé's disabled child or help them babysit when I visit? Am I the asshole for refusing to leave my apartment for a day because of my Muslim roommate's conservative mom? Throwaway because my roommates know my main account. So I, 23 male, live in a college apartment with 2 roommates, both of which are women, and one of them is Muslim. Let's call her Sana. We all get along pretty well and have lived together for over a year with no issues. Yesterday, Sana told us her mom was visiting for the upcoming weekend. For info, her mom is very conservative and religious, and apparently doesn't approve of her daughter living with male roommates. Awkward because I exist. As a result, Sana asked if I could leave the apartment entirely for the day her mom was visiting. Like, be out the whole day and even find somewhere else to sleep overnight. I told her I wasn't comfortable with that BC. I had a major assignment due, and I focus best when I'm working from home. I also didn't want to have to pack up all my stuff and go stay somewhere else just to keep up an appearance for someone I don't even know. Additionally, I pay equal rent and felt like I had a right to be in the apartment. Still, to try and compromise, I offered to stay in my room the entire day and be quiet, not come out at all on the condition that I'd at least be allowed to quickly come out to make lunch or dinner, or they could just bring food to my room so I wouldn't starve. I genuinely thought that was fair and respectful. But no, Sana wasn't happy with that and insisted I should be out of the apartment entirely. She said her mom would freak out if she found out a guy lived there, and it would cause a lot of drama in her family. I said while I understood her position, I wasn't going to dip from my own home, especially with a big deadline hanging over me. She's still pissed and being pretty cold toward me now, and also vented to our other roommate, who stayed neutral and said she saw both sides. I really wasn't trying to be difficult or disrespectful. I understand her cultural situation, but I also feel like it's unfair to expect someone to completely vacate their home just to accommodate someone else's family's beliefs, especially when I tried to find a middle ground. So, am I the asshole? Edit. Sana never chose to have male roommates, but it just so happened that she was practically bullied out of her old apartment, all female, for a conflict involving another girl, and this was her last resort. Also, I'm so disheartened to see so much hate in the comments, and it's enlightened me to be kinder and more understanding to Sana and her situation. This was never meant to start a debate in the comments, and I urge everyone to have more empathy and humanity. I will also be going home and asking a friend if I can stay over for a day. For everyone concerned about how if I let it bypass now, that it will happen again and again, I will speak to Sana about this properly and urge her to talk to her mom. Am I the asshole for asking my current wife to stop body-shaming my ex-wife? I'm a 45-year-old man, and I've been married to my second wife, who's 29, for a few years now. Before her, I was married to my ex-wife, who's 47. We divorced, but she's still very much in my life because we share kids together. Here's where the issue starts. I'm a naturally thin guy. My current wife is on the heavier side, and honestly, that's what I prefer. I've always been attracted to women with more curves. My ex-wife, though, is heavier than my current wife. The problem is that my wife keeps bringing it up, constantly referring to my ex as fat in a very derogatory way. She'll say it casually, sometimes as a joke, but it always comes across as cruel. I finally told her to stop. I said I didn't want her body shaming my ex. My wife immediately accused me of still being in love with my ex, saying that was the only reason I was defending her. But that's not it at all. I love my wife, and I don't want her feeling insecure, but my ex is the mother of my children, and she's a good person. I don't want to hear anyone insulting her, especially about her body. That's not fair to her, and honestly, it's not something I want my kids exposed to either. Now my wife thinks I'm crossing the line by telling her what she can or can't say, and she's convinced that my defense of my ex means I still have feelings for her. So am I the asshole for asking my wife to stop body-shaming my ex-wife? Like and subscribe for daily Reddit stories.